My name is Morgan Hayes, and I'm 29 years old. 4 years ago, my father sent me a text message at 11:30 on a Friday night that shattered the illusion I'd been clinging to my entire life. Your brother's getting promoted. Big dinner Sunday. Family only. I read it 3 times, waiting for the follow-up text that would include me. It never came. I wasn't family. I was a footnote, an afterthought, the daughter who existed only when convenient. And when I finally asked why I wasn't invited, my mother's response was colder than I'd ever imagined possible. Morgan, you know how you are. Derek doesn't need negativity on his special day. Negativity? That's what they called it when I asked to be included. When I pointed out I'd been left out again. When I dared to have feelings they found inconvenient. I spent that Sunday alone in my apartment in Seattle, staring at Instagram photos of my entire family celebrating my brother without me. And I had no idea that the colleague who knocked on my door that evening to return a borrowed textbook would become the person who taught me what family actually means. I had no idea that 4 years later, she'd be standing beside me in a courtroom as my legal mother, while my biological parents sat in the back row, realizing they'd lost me in every way that counts. But before I tell you how I replaced them completely, let me take you back to the text message that started it all. I remember exactly where I was standing. October 14th, 11:32 p.m. I was in my studio apartment near the university, grading papers for the freshman composition course I taught as an adjunct professor. The smell of burnt coffee filled the room because I'd forgotten the pot on the burner again. My phone lit up with Dad's name. I actually smiled. Maybe he was calling to say goodnight. Maybe he remembered I had that big lecture the next morning and wanted to wish me luck. I opened the message. Your brother's getting promoted. Big dinner Sunday. Family only. My hands went cold. I read it again. Family only. I texted back immediately. That's amazing. What time Sunday? Should I bring anything? 3 minutes passed. 5, 10. The dots appeared, then disappeared, then appeared again. Finally. This one's just immediate family, Morgan. You understand? I stared at those words until they blurred. Immediate family. I was their daughter. I'd lived in their house for 18 years. I'd sat at their table for thousands of meals, and I wasn't immediate family. I called my mother. She answered on the 4th ring, her voice tight with irritation. Morgan, it's late. Mom, Dad just texted me about Derek's dinner. Yes? Ice in that single word. He said family only, but I'm family. A long pause. I could hear the television in the background. One of those home renovation shows she loved. Morgan. Her voice had that edge I knew too well. You know how you are. How I am? You get sensitive about things. You read into comments. Derek doesn't need that kind of energy on his special day. My throat closed. I haven't even said anything. I just asked what time. And that's exactly what I mean. You're already making this difficult. I'm not making anything difficult. I just want to celebrate my brother. This isn't about you. Her voice hardened. For once, can something not be about you? The line went dead. I sat on the floor of my apartment, phone still pressed to my ear, and felt something inside me crack open. Not break. Crack. Like when glass fractures, but doesn't shatter yet. Just sits there with a spiderweb pattern spreading across its surface, waiting for one more impact to destroy it completely. I wish I could say this was the first time, but as I sat there on my apartment floor, the memories came rushing back like evidence I'd been collecting my whole life without realizing it. My high school graduation. I'd worked so hard. 4 years of advanced classes and debate team and volunteering at the library on weekends. I'd earned a full academic scholarship to the state university. When they called my name and I walked across that stage, I searched the bleachers for my parents. They weren't there. They showed up an hour later, right as the ceremony was ending, because Derek had a baseball tournament 2 hours away, and they'd driven him there first. We tried to make it back in time, sweetie. Mom had said it like she was explaining bad traffic, not a choice. But Derek's team made it to finals. You understand? I understood perfectly. Derek's routine Saturday game mattered more than my once-in-a-lifetime graduation. Then there was my 25th birthday. I'd planned a small dinner at my favorite restaurant. Nothing fancy. Just me and my parents and my brother and his wife. I'd made the reservation weeks in advance. The morning of, Mom called. Honey, we need to reschedule. Derek and Amanda are having trouble with the pregnancy. Amanda's on bed rest and Derek needs us. Is she okay? I'd asked immediately, genuinely worried. She's fine, just precautionary. But Derek's overwhelmed and we're going to stay with them for a few days. Okay, but couldn't we still do dinner? It's just one night. Morgan. That disappointed sigh I knew too well. Your brother needs support right now. Can you please not be selfish? I canceled the reservation. We never rescheduled. Nobody mentioned my birthday again. I learned early that complaining made things worse, that asking for attention was proof I didn't deserve it, that the only way to be loved was to need nothing at all. So I became nothing. Small, quiet, undemanding. I thought if I needed them less, if I was easier, if I caused no trouble and created no conflict and asked for nothing, maybe then they'd finally see me. But sitting on my apartment floor at 29 years old, staring at a text message that called me non-immediate family, I finally understood the truth. There was no version of small enough that would make me matter to them. I called my father the next morning. I told myself I'd stay calm, that I'd explain rationally why being excluded hurt, that maybe if I just used the right words, he'd understand. He answered on the second ring. Morgan. Dad, can we talk about tomorrow's dinner? Silence. I don't understand why I'm not invited. Derek is my brother. I want to celebrate him too. Your mother explained this already? She said I get sensitive. Dad, I haven't done anything. You're doing it right now. His voice was flat, final. You're making his achievement about your feelings. I'm not, Morgan, he cut me off. Your brother has worked very hard for this promotion. We want to celebrate him without complications. Complications, that's what I was. Not a daughter, a complication. Dad, do you want me there? The silence lasted so long, I checked to see if the call had dropped. I think, he finally said, it's better if you sit this one out. Better. Not for me. For them. I hung up before he could hear me cry. Sunday came. I woke up to sunlight streaming through my apartment windows and the knowledge that somewhere across the city, my family was gathering for brunch before Derek's celebration dinner, without me. My phone stayed silent all morning. No goodnight text from Dad, no check-in from Mom, no message from Derek thanking me for the congratulations card I'd mailed 3 days earlier. Around noon, I made the mistake of opening Instagram. My mother had posted a photo. The whole family at some upscale brunch place. White tablecloths, mimosas, plates of eggs, Benedict. Mom and Dad on one side, Derek and Amanda on the other. Their 2-year-old daughter in a high chair covered in waffle syrup. Everyone was smiling. The caption read, "Celebrating our brilliant son. So proud of this family. I zoomed in on the photo, counted the chairs. 6 people, 6 chairs, no empty seat, no space where I should have been. They hadn't just excluded me. They'd arranged themselves like I'd never existed at all. I closed the app, stared at my ceiling, thought about ordering takeout and spending the day in bed feeling sorry for myself, which is exactly what they'd expect me to do. Exactly what would prove I was too sensitive, too dramatic, too much. No. I grabbed my jacket. If they weren't going to include me, I'd include myself somewhere else. I just had to find somewhere that felt less empty than this apartment. The University Library Cafe was one of those spaces that stayed open late on weekends for students who had nowhere else to go. When I pushed through the doors that Sunday afternoon, the smell of coffee and old books wrapped around me like a familiar blanket. The cafe was quiet, just a few graduate students hunched over laptops. A couple at a corner table sharing a piece of cake, and at the table by the window, Professor Sarah Chen. She looked up when I walked in, and something in my face must have given me away because she immediately closed her laptop and gestured to the empty chair across from her. "Morgan, sit." I'd known Sarah for 2 years, ever since she'd hired me as a teaching assistant for her creative writing seminar. She was in her late 50s, brilliant, kind in a direct way that didn't waste time on pleasantries. I sat. "You look terrible." Sarah said it without judgment, just observation. "Thanks." I tried to smile. That's exactly what I needed to hear. What happened? And somehow, sitting across from this woman who barely knew me, I told her everything. The text message, the phone calls, the Instagram photo with no empty chair. 29 years of being the acceptable loss. Sarah listened without interrupting, her dark eyes steady on mine. And when I finally finished, she was quiet for a long moment. Then she said something that changed everything. "You know what I learned in 30 years of teaching?" I shook my head. The people who accuse you of being too sensitive are usually the ones who don't want to be held accountable for hurting you. The words hit me like a physical blow. "You're not the problem, Morgan." Sarah leaned forward. "You never were. You just had the audacity to ask to be treated like you mattered." I couldn't speak. "And that," she continued, "terrifies people who've built their peace on your silence." Something inside me shifted. Not healing, not yet, just recognition. This woman I barely knew had seen me more clearly in 5 minutes than my parents had in 29 years. Sarah didn't let me leave the cafe alone that day. "Have you eaten?" she asked. "Not really." "Neither have I. Come on." She drove us to a small Vietnamese restaurant near campus, the kind of place with plastic chairs and incredible food, and a line out the door every night. We got pho, and while we ate, Sarah told me her story. She'd grown up in San Francisco, the youngest of 4 children in a traditional Chinese family. Her parents had immigrated from Taiwan with nothing, built a small grocery store from the ground up, sacrificed everything for their children's education. They wanted doctors and lawyers, Sarah said, stirring her soup. "I wanted to write poetry. I'm guessing they didn't approve. They disowned me." She said it calmly, like she was stating a fact about the weather. "When I was 22 and told them I was going to graduate school for literature instead of medical school, my father said I was no longer his daughter." My breath caught. "Sarah, I didn't speak to them for 15 years. She looked up. "Not because I was angry, because they refused to accept who I was." "Did you ever reconcile?" "No. My mother died when I was 37. My father 2 years later." She paused. I grieved, but not for the parents I actually had. For the parents I'd spent my childhood wishing they'd be. I understood that completely. But here's what I learned. Sarah met my eyes. Family isn't DNA, it's choice. And the moment I stopped trying to earn love from people who'd already decided I wasn't worth it, I started building something real. What do you mean? She smiled. I mean, I found my people, my chosen family, the friends who showed up when I was sick, who celebrated my first book publication, who sat with me when my mother died, even though she'd rejected me years before. That's allowed? The question came out small, uncertain. Morgan. Sarah reached across the table and squeezed my hand. It's not just allowed, it's necessary. Over the next few months, something unexpected happened. Sarah and I started meeting for coffee every week, then twice a week. Then she started inviting me to faculty events and dinners at her house. Her home was everything mine had never been. Books everywhere, art on the walls, a kitchen that always smelled like something delicious. And her partner, James, a retired architect who made terrible puns and built birdhouses in their garage. They welcomed me like I'd always belonged there. Stay for dinner, Sarah would say, and it was never a question. Just an assumption that of course I'd stay, of course there was room for me. I met their friends, other professors, artists, writers, people who asked about my work and actually listened to the answers. People who celebrated when I got a poem published in a small literary journal, who remembered my birthday without being reminded, who texted to check in when I mentioned I was having a hard week. For the first time in my life, I wasn't performing for love, I wasn't shrinking to fit, I was just there. And it was enough. Meanwhile, my biological family stayed silent. No calls, no texts, not even a Christmas card. Derek posted photos of his promotion party, his new office, his daughter's 3rd birthday, and I wasn't in any of them. For the first time in 29 years, I stopped noticing, because for the first time, I had something better. It happened so gradually, I almost didn't notice it happening. 2 years after that first Sunday at the cafe, Sarah and James started introducing me differently. Not as our friend Morgan or the teaching assistant, as our daughter. It started casually. Sarah would mention me in conversation and say, "My daughter Morgan teaches composition at the university." The first time I heard it, I thought I'd misheard. The second time, I asked her about it. We were in her kitchen making dumplings for Chinese New Year. Flour everywhere. James attempting to fold wrappers with absolutely no success. "Sarah, did you just call me your daughter?" She looked up, met my eyes. "Is that okay?" I couldn't speak. "Because that's how we think of you," she continued. "That's how we've thought of you for a while now." James nodded, dumpling filling oozing out of his mangled wrapper. "Your family, Morgan, the kind that actually shows up." Something in my chest cracked wide open, and this time it wasn't breaking, it was healing. My voice cracked. "I'd be honored." Sarah pulled me into a hug that smelled like ginger and home. "We're the ones who are honored, sweetheart." 6 months later, Sarah sat me down at her dining table with a cup of tea and a serious expression. "I want to talk to you about something," she said, "and I need you to really think about it before you answer." My heart started pounding. "Okay. James and I have been talking, and we'd like to formally adopt you." I stared at her. "Adopt me? But I'm 30 years old." "Adult adoption." She pulled out a folder, and I realized this was the lawyer in her, the professor who'd taught contract law before switching to literature. "It's a legal process. Creates a formal parent-child relationship, new birth certificate, new legal next of kin, everything." That's possible?" Very possible. I've helped several students through the process over the years. She pushed the folder toward me. But only if you want this. Only if it feels right. I opened the folder. Inside were forms, explanations. A letter from Sarah and James explaining why they wanted to adopt me. "We love you, Morgan," Sarah said softly. "We've loved you like a daughter since the day you sat down in that cafe and trusted me with your pain. This would just make it official." I looked at this woman who'd shown me what a mother could be, who'd fed me and listened to me and celebrated me and never once made me earn her love. "Yes," I whispered. "Yes, please." We filed the paperwork the next week. The legal process took 4 months. Paperwork, court appearances, a judge who asked me why I wanted to be adopted at 30 years old. I told her the truth. Because these are the people who chose me when my biological family didn't. Because I want the world to know they're my parents in every way that matters. The judge signed the order. I became Morgan Chen. Legally, officially, permanently. I had a new birth certificate with Sarah's and James's names, where my biological parents used to be. I had a new family, one I'd built instead of being born into. And when Sarah and James threw a small celebration dinner with all our friends, when people toasted to family and belonging and second chances, I felt something I'd spent my entire childhood chasing. I was home. A year later, I met Daniel. He was a librarian at the university, quiet, thoughtful, the kind of person who noticed when someone needed help finding a book and never made them feel stupid for asking. We started with coffee, then dinner, then weekends exploring bookstores and arguing about poetry and cooking elaborate meals in my tiny apartment kitchen. 6 months in, he met Sarah and James. They loved him immediately, which shouldn't have surprised me because Sarah had impeccable taste and James could find common ground with anyone. What surprised me was how easily Daniel fit into our family dinners, how naturally he passed dishes and told stories and made James laugh with his terrible pun responses. It felt like he'd always been there. 2 years after our first coffee, Daniel proposed. We were at the place where it all started, the University Library Cafe, at the same table where Sarah had first told me I wasn't the problem. He got down on one knee next to the philosophy section. "Morgan Chen, will you marry me?" I said yes before he finished the question. Planning the wedding was everything I'd never let myself dream about. Sarah helped me pick a dress. James walked me through venue options with an architect's eye for detail. Daniel's parents, warm, inclusive, everything I'd hoped in-laws could be, welcomed me without hesitation. But one question kept me awake at night. The wedding invitation would need a line for parents of the bride. And for the first time in my life, I knew exactly whose names belonged there. We designed the invitations together. Elegant, simple, cream cardstock with dark green lettering, and there, in the center, Sarah and James Chen request the honor of your presence at the marriage of their daughter, Morgan. Their daughter, not along with the biological parents, or in addition to, or any qualifier. Just their daughter, because that's what I was. We mailed the invitations in March. I should have known the Hayes family would eventually find out. The first message came from my brother's wife, Amanda, a Facebook message 3 months before the wedding. "Morgan, is this real? Are you actually getting married?" I stared at it for a long time before responding. "Yes, this October." "Why didn't you tell anyone?" "I did. I told my family." The dots appeared and disappeared for a full minute. Then, "Your parents would want to know about this." I blocked her. 2 days later, my mother called. I let it go to voicemail. She called 4 more times that week. Finally, she texted, "Morgan, we need to talk about this wedding. Call me immediately." I read it twice. Then I deleted it. 3 years of silence. 3 years of pretending I didn't exist. And now suddenly they needed to talk. I wasn't angry. I'd moved past anger 2 years ago. I was just tired. Tired of people who only remembered I existed when it suited them. Daniel found me staring at my phone that evening. "Everything okay?" My biological mother found out about the wedding. "Ah." He sat beside me. "What do you want to do?" "Nothing." I put the phone down. I don't owe her anything. Not an explanation, not an invitation, nothing. He pulled me close. "Whatever you decide, I support you." I leaned into him. I already decided. 3 years ago, when they chose my brother over me for the 100th time. I looked up at him. They don't get to be part of this. But deep down, I knew they'd try anyway. She showed up at my apartment on a Wednesday morning. I was working from home, grading papers at my kitchen table, when someone knocked on my door. I opened it without checking the peephole. Mistake. "Morgan." My mother stood in my hallway. She looked older than I remembered, more gray in her hair, deeper lines around her mouth, but her eyes held that same expression I'd spent my childhood trying to erase. Disappointment. "Mom." The word felt foreign. "We need to talk." She walked past me into my apartment without being invited, her eyes scanning the space like she was cataloging evidence of my life without them. "What are you doing here?" "What am I doing here?" She turned to face me. "I find out my daughter is getting married from a Facebook post, and you're asking what I'm doing here?" "We haven't spoken in 3 years." "And whose fault is that?" I closed the door slowly, counted to 5. "Yours." Her jaw tightened. "You're the one who stopped reaching out. You told me I was a complication, that I made everything about myself, that Derek didn't need my negativity." The words came out calm, factual. "So I gave you exactly what you asked for, my absence." "That's not..." She stopped, started again. "You can't possibly still be upset about one dinner." "It wasn't one dinner, Mom. It was 29 years of dinners, graduations, birthdays, moments where I came last every single time." "You're being dramatic." There it was, the word that had controlled me my entire childhood, but I wasn't a child anymore. "I'm being honest," I said quietly. "And if that feels dramatic to you, that says more about you than me." She looked around my apartment again, and her eyes landed on the wedding invitation proofs on my coffee table. She picked one up. "Read it." Her face went white. "Who is Sarah Chen?" "My mother." "I am your mother." "Not legally." I met her eyes. "Not anymore." The silence stretched between us like a chasm. My mother stared at the invitation, at Sarah and James's names where hers and Dad's used to be, and I watched the realization settle over her face. "You replaced us." "I found people who actually wanted me." I kept my voice steady. "There's a difference." "We've always wanted you." "No." I cut her off. "You wanted a version of me that didn't ask questions, that didn't have feelings, that stayed quiet and small and grateful for whatever scraps of attention you threw my way." Her hands were shaking. "That's not fair." "What's not fair?" I said. "Is spending 30 years trying to earn love from people who'd already decided I wasn't worth it." "You're our daughter." "I was your daughter. Then you told me I wasn't immediate family. You erased me from every photo, every celebration, every moment that mattered." I stood taller. So I found a family that doesn't erase people. I want an invitation to this wedding. No. She actually flinched. You can't be serious. I've never been more serious about anything in my life. Morgan, you don't get to show up now and demand a seat at my table. I walked to the door, opened it. You had 30 years to choose me. You chose Derek every single time. That was your choice, and this is mine. Your father will be devastated. Then he should have answered me when I asked if he wanted me at Derek's dinner. I held the door open. Waited. My mother looked at me like she was seeing a stranger. And maybe she was. The daughter who never fought back had finally stopped shrinking. Get out, Mom. She left without another word. 2 weeks before the wedding, a letter arrived. My father's handwriting on the envelope. I almost threw it away, but something made me open it. Dear Morgan, your mother told me about her visit. She's hurt, and I can't say I blame her. But I wanted to write to you myself. I know I haven't been the father you needed. I know I should have stood up for you more. Should have made sure you knew you mattered. Should have said something when your mother and brother made you feel invisible. I was a coward. I am a coward. But you're still my daughter, Morgan, and I'm asking you, please let us be part of your wedding day. We want to celebrate you. Love, Dad. I read it 3 times. Then I called Sarah. She came over that evening with tea and her reading glasses, sat on my couch, and read the letter carefully. What do you want to do? She asked when she finished. I don't know. I stared at my hands. Part of me wants to believe him, that he's actually sorry, that he actually cares. And the other part knows that sorry doesn't undo 30 years, that this letter only exists because I'm getting married, and it looks bad that my parents aren't invited. Sarah nodded slowly. Those can both be true. He can be genuinely sorry, and also only saying it now because the consequences are finally affecting him. So what do I do? Whatever feels right for you. She took my hand. But I'll tell you what I told myself when my parents died, and I had to decide whether to go to their funerals. What? Forgiveness is about releasing yourself from the weight of anger, not about giving someone access to hurt you again. I looked at this woman who'd shown me what unconditional love actually looked like. I don't want them there, I said quietly. I don't want to spend my wedding day watching them pretend to be proud of me. I don't want to give them that satisfaction. Then don't. Is that cruel? No, sweetheart. Sarah squeezed my hand. That's just protecting your peace. I wrote my father back that night, a short note. Dad, I appreciate your letter. I believe you're sorry, but sorry doesn't give me back the 30 years you stood by and watched. Sorry doesn't undo the message that told me I wasn't immediate family. Sorry doesn't erase the Instagram photo with no empty chair. I've built a life with people who chose me first. People who didn't need 3 years and a wedding invitation to realize I deserved better. I hope you understand. Morgan, I mailed it the next morning. He didn't write back. The wedding day arrived clear and perfect. October in Seattle, golden leaves, crisp air, the kind of day that felt like a gift. We'd chosen a small venue, a historic mansion with gardens overlooking the Sound, intimate enough that every guest felt like family. Because they were. In the bridal suite, Sarah helped me into my dress. A simple ivory gown with lace sleeves and a train that puddled on the floor like water. You're beautiful, she said softly, adjusting my veil. I looked at my reflection. The woman looking back at me was calm, certain, loved. She looked nothing like the girl who'd sat on her apartment floor 3 years ago, reading a text that called her non-immediate family. That girl had thought she was the problem. This woman knew better. On the table beside me sat the wedding program. I picked it up, reading the line I never thought I'd write. Parents of the bride, Sarah and James Chen. Below it, in smaller text, the family who saw her first. "Are you worried they'll show up?" Sarah asked gently. I'd hired security, a quiet precaution, because I knew there was a chance my biological parents would try something. "A little," I admitted. Sarah put her hands on my shoulders. "Whatever happens today, you have a family who chose you. We will always choose you. Remember that." I hugged her tight. "I love you, Mom." It was the first time I'd called her that. Sarah's eyes filled with tears. "I love you too, my beautiful daughter." The ceremony was perfect. James walked me down the aisle, steady and proud. And when we reached Daniel, he whispered, "Take care of my daughter." Daniel promised he would. The vows we'd written ourselves made half the guests cry. When Daniel slipped the ring on my finger and the officiant pronounced us married, I felt something settle into place, like a key turning in a lock I'd spent my whole life trying to open. The reception was in full swing when the security guard found me. "Mrs. Torres." He appeared at my elbow, discreet. "There are 2 people at the entrance. They say they're your parents." I'd expected this. Daniel appeared beside me immediately. "I'll handle it." "No." I took his hand. "This is mine to handle." The guard waited. I thought about my options. I could have them removed. I could ignore them completely. I could avoid this moment entirely. But something in me said, "No. Let them see. Let them see what they lost. Let them see the family who stepped in when they stepped out. Let them witness the life I built without them." "Let them in," I told the guard. "But put them in the back. Don't seat them with family." "Are you sure?" Daniel asked. "I'm sure." The guard nodded and left. A few minutes later, I saw them. Robert and Linda Hayes, standing awkwardly at the edge of the reception hall, looking around at the 100 people celebrating their daughter's wedding. Their daughter, who they hadn't spoken to in 3 years. The MC stepped up to the microphone. Perfect timing. "Ladies and gentlemen," the MC's voice carried across the reception hall. "If I could have your attention, please." The room quieted. Conversations paused. People turned toward the front. "Before we continue the celebration, I'd like to introduce some very special people." I watched my biological parents from across the room. My mother straightened, preparing to be acknowledged, to accept recognition she thought was rightfully hers. "Please join me in welcoming the parents of the bride." Linda lifted her chin. I could see her mouth starting to form a smile. "Sarah and James Chen." The room erupted in applause. Sarah and James stood from the head table, beaming, waving to the guests who cheered for them. People whistled. The photographer snapped photos. And across the room, my mother's face went ashen. I watched it happen in slow motion. The confusion, the disbelief, the moment she understood what those words meant. Sarah and James Chen, the family who chose Morgan and whom Morgan chose in return. Linda grabbed Robert's arm. Her mouth moved, but no sound came out. Robert looked stunned, frozen. Around them, guests applauded and smiled, completely unaware that the older couple in the back had any connection to the bride at all. To everyone else at this wedding, Sarah and James Chen were simply what they appeared to be. My parents. The MC continued. "Sarah and James, thank you for raising such an incredible woman. We're so grateful she found you." More applause. Sarah was crying. James had his arm around her, and my mother, my biological mother, stood in the back of the room watching the family she'd thrown away being celebrated in her place. She'd been replaced. Completely. Officially. Legally. And everyone in this room knew it except her. Linda pushed through the crowd before I could stop her. She reached me just as the applause was dying down. Her face flushed, her hands shaking. Robert trailed behind her, looking like he wanted to disappear. "What is this?" Linda's voice was a harsh whisper. "Who are those people?" I kept my voice calm. "My legal parents. I told you, I was adopted." "You can't just replace us." "I didn't replace you?" I looked at her steadily. "You left a space empty." "They filled it." "We never abandoned you. You told me I wasn't immediate family." I felt Daniel move to my side, a solid presence. "You erased me from photos. You chose my brother over me every single time for 30 years. The guest nearest to us had noticed the confrontation. Conversation stopped. Heads turned. "That's not fair," Linda started. "What's fair?" I said quietly, "is finally choosing myself when you never would." Around us, the room had gone silent. 100 pairs of eyes watched. Linda looked around, suddenly aware of the audience. "This is humiliating." "Then leave." My voice was soft, final. "You came uninvited to my wedding. You don't get to play the victim." She stared at me like I was a stranger. Maybe I was. The daughter who never fought back had finally found her voice. And then my father spoke. "Morgan!" His voice cracked on my name. I turned to look at him. Robert Hayes had aged more than 3 years should account for. Deeper lines, grayer hair, shoulders that sagged under invisible weight. But his eyes were wet. "I'm sorry." I'd waited 30 years to hear those words. They came too late. "I know, Dad. I should have protected you." His voice broke. "I should have stood up for you. I should have told your mother and your brother that the way they treated you was wrong." A tear rolled down his cheek. "You were my daughter, my little girl, and I let them make you invisible." Something in my chest tightened. "I was a coward," he whispered. "I still am." Around us, guests watched in absolute silence. "I know you're sorry, Dad." My voice was gentle but firm. "But sorry doesn't give me back my childhood. Sorry doesn't undo the Instagram photo with no empty chair. Sorry doesn't make this okay." "I know." He wiped his eyes. "I know it doesn't." Sarah appeared at my shoulder. Didn't say anything, just placed her hand on my arm. A quiet reminder. "You're not alone." Linda stared at Sarah with barely concealed hostility. "You stole my daughter." Sarah's expression didn't change. "I didn't steal anything, Mrs. Hayes." "Then what do you call this?" James stepped forward, positioned himself beside his wife. James Chen was the kindest man I'd ever met, but when he spoke now, there was steel in his voice. "I think it's time for you folks to leave." Linda's jaw dropped. "Who are you to tell us?" "I'm her father." James's voice carried across the silent reception. "Legally and in every way that matters. You stole our daughter." "No, ma'am." James shook his head. "We didn't steal anything. You threw her away. We just gave her a home." Linda flinched like she'd been struck. 3 years ago," James continued, "this young woman was sitting alone in a cafe because her family told her she wasn't immediate. My wife sat down beside her. We invited her to dinner. We treated her like she mattered." He stepped closer to Linda. "Do you know what she told us that first night?" She said she couldn't remember the last time she felt wanted by her own family. Linda's face crumpled. We didn't steal your daughter. James's voice was quiet now, devastating. We just showed her what family actually looks like. The rest was her choice. He turned to the room. Now this is my daughter's wedding day, the happiest day of her life, and I won't let anyone ruin it. He nodded to security. Please escort these people out. As the guards approached, James put his arm around me. Morgan is a Chen now, he said softly, and Chens protect their own. This is what a father sounds like. Before security could lead them away, I held up my hand. Wait. Everyone froze. Linda looked at me with something like hope in her eyes. Maybe she thought I was having second thoughts. I walked toward my biological parents, stopped an arm's length away. Mom? Dad? The words felt strange when directed at them. I don't hate you. Linda's breath caught. I don't hate you, I repeated. I've made peace with who you are. You're not villains. You're just people who couldn't see past your favorite child. People who chose comfort over fairness. People who made one daughter invisible so the other could shine brighter. Robert was crying again. But I've also made peace with who I am. I stood straighter. And who I am is someone who deserves to be chosen first, not as an afterthought, not when it's convenient, chosen first. I looked at them both, the parents I'd spent my childhood trying to please, the family I'd shrunk myself trying to fit into. You didn't choose me, I said. They did, I gestured to Sarah and James, and I choose them. The room stayed silent. I'm not erasing you from my history, I continued. I'm just not giving you space in my future anymore. And that's not revenge. That's just the natural consequence of your choices. I nodded to security. Goodbye. As they were escorted out, the wedding guests began to applause, not for the drama. For me, the rest of the wedding was everything I'd dreamed. We danced until my feet hurt. We cut the cake while everyone cheered. Daniel spun me across the dance floor until I was dizzy with joy. And when Sarah and James gave a toast about finding family in unexpected places, about love being a choice we make every day, I looked around at these people and felt something I'd chased my entire childhood. I belonged. Completely. Unconditionally. For the first time in my life, I was home. The next morning, my phone started buzzing. Messages from extended Hayes family members I hadn't heard from in years. Cousins, aunts, uncles. How could you do this to your mother? Family is family no matter what. You've broken your father's heart. I deleted them without responding. But then, a message came from someone unexpected. My Aunt Patricia, my father's younger sister. Morgan, I heard what happened. I want you to know, I'm proud of you. I stared at the screen. I always knew Linda treated you wrong. I tried to say something once and she didn't speak to me for 2 years. But you deserved better. You always did. My eyes burned. Thank you, I typed back. That means more than you know. On Facebook, Linda had posted a long, dramatic status about ungrateful children who abandon their families. I didn't respond. I didn't need to. That evening, I blocked every phone number and social media account connected to the Hayes family. Not out of anger, out of peace. Daniel found me on our apartment balcony. You okay? I looked out at the Seattle skyline, the lights just starting to flicker on as the sun set. Yeah. I leaned into him. I really am. For the first time in my life, I wasn't carrying the weight of people who didn't want to carry me. I was free. 1 year later, life settled into something beautiful. Daniel and I moved into a small house in Ballard, close enough to the university for my commute, with a garden where James helped me plant tomatoes that actually grew. Sarah and I still had coffee every week. Sunday dinners at the Chen house became sacred, a rotating cast of friends and chosen family, laughter and good food, and the kind of belonging that doesn't require performance. I got promoted to associate professor. Daniel's library opened a new children's wing he'd designed. And one morning in October, exactly 2 years after my wedding, I sat at Sarah and James's kitchen table with a cup of tea and news I could barely contain. "I'm pregnant." Sarah burst into tears. James tried not to cry and failed spectacularly. "A grandchild," Sarah whispered, pulling me into her arms. "Oh, sweetheart. I want to name her after you," I said. "If it's a girl, Sarah Jane Torres. You don't have to." "I want to." I looked at this woman who'd shown me what a mother could be. "I want her to have the name of the family that chose her mother." Sarah held me tight while we both cried happy tears. 6 months later, the nursery was painted soft yellow, walls covered in hand-painted birds that James had spent weeks perfecting. Sarah and I were assembling the crib. Daniel had abandoned the project after reading the instructions and declaring them architecturally impossible. "Have you heard from them?" Sarah asked quietly. "Your bio family?" I thought about it. "No, and I don't expect to." I placed another wooden slat into the crib frame. "Sometimes I wonder if my mother thinks about me, if she regrets how things ended, if she tells people she has 2 grandchildren, or just Derek's kids. Does wondering bother you?" "Not anymore." I looked up. I used to spend so much energy trying to figure out why I wasn't enough for them, what I could have done differently, how I could have been better. And now? Now I know it was never about me being enough. I fitted the final piece into place. It was about them refusing to see me at all. Sarah nodded slowly. We worked in comfortable silence for a while. Then she said, "You're going to be an incredible mother, Morgan." "You think so?" "I know so." She smiled. "Because you know exactly what a child needs. To be seen, to be chosen. To know they matter just because they exist." I looked around the nursery, at the crib we'd built together, at the rocking chair James had made by hand, at the mobile Sarah had knitted with tiny elephants, at the family I'd chosen, the family that had chosen me back. "She'll know," I said softly. "I promise, she'll always know she's wanted." Present day. 5 years to the day after my father sent me that text message, I sat at a very different table. The Chen house was beautiful chaos. Sarah Jane, 4 years old now, was helping James make dumplings, which mostly meant creating abstract art with flour. Daniel's parents had driven up from Portland with homemade pie. Sarah's book club friends filled the living room with laughter. And at the head of the table, where I'd sat for hundreds of Sunday dinners, was an empty chair. "That's for anyone who needs it," James always said. "An open seat for someone who needs family." Because that's what the Chens did. They made room. "All right, everyone." Sarah stood, raising her glass. "Before we eat, Morgan has something to say." I stood, Sarah Jane in my arms, and looked around the table at the family I'd built. 5 years ago tonight, I began. My father sent me a text telling me I wasn't immediate family, that I wasn't welcome at my brother's celebration. The room went quiet. I spent that night alone, wondering if I'd ever belong anywhere, wondering if there was something wrong with me that made me so easy to exclude. I paused, feeling Daniel's hand squeeze mine under the table. And then Sarah sat beside me in a cafe and said, You're not the problem. And everything changed. James was already wiping his eyes. So here's my toast. I raised my glass. To family. Not the one we're born into, but the one we build. The one we choose. The one that chooses us back. To family, everyone echoed. Glasses clinked. Sarah Jane giggled. James finally got his extra dumpling. And I looked around at these people. My people. And felt something I'd spent my whole childhood chasing. I belonged. Completely. Unconditionally. For the first time in my life, I was home. Later that evening, Daniel and I sat on the Chin's back porch with Sarah Jane asleep between us. The April air was cool, cherry blossoms falling like snow in the garden. Do you ever think about them? Daniel asked quietly. Your bio parents? Sometimes, I admitted. Usually in the middle of the night. I'll wonder if they ever understood what they lost, if they've changed. Do you think they have? I shook my head. People rarely change, not in the ways that matter. Does that make you sad? I looked at Sarah Jane. Her tiny fist curled near her cheek, her peaceful breathing, her absolute certainty that she is loved. It used to, I said. But not anymore. I spent 30 years being sad about a family that couldn't love me. I don't have room for that now. Through the window, I could see the Chen family. My family. Cleaning up, laughing, living. What changed? Daniel asked. I did. I leaned into him. I stopped waiting for them to see me. I stopped shrinking to fit their expectations, and I started building something real. Sarah Jane stirred, making soft, sleeping sounds. I picked her up, held her close. I'll never make you earn my love, I whispered. You'll never wonder if you're wanted. You'll always know. She sighed and settled against my chest. If you're watching this and you've been the one your family forgot, the one who was always second choice, the one told you're too sensitive just because you dared to ask to be treated fairly, I want you to know something. It's not you. It never was. You deserve to be chosen first. Not when it's convenient. Not as a backup plan. Not as the acceptable sacrifice when someone else needs attention. Chosen first. Family isn't blood. Family isn't obligation. Family isn't people who share your DNA but treat you like you're invisible. Family is the people who show up. The people who see you sitting alone and say, "Come join us." The people who make room at their table and in their hearts and in their legal documents to say, "You're ours now, officially, permanently." I spent 30 years trying to earn love from people who decided I wasn't worth it. And then I spent 5 years learning what love actually looks like. Not from the family I was born into, but from the family I chose. If the people who are supposed to love you can't do that, if they've proven over and over that you'll always come last, you have the right to walk away. You have the right to build your own family. You have the right to be happy. That's not revenge. That's not drama. That's just protecting your peace. I found my people, and I hope with everything in me that you find yours too.